Welcome, traveler of the night, dear friend of quiet hours. You are welcome to the Sleeping History Channel. Tonight we wake where the Nile sighs beneath the moon, and the pharaohs sleep in golden silence. Before we begin our journey, find a quiet place. Dim the lights. Let a fan hum gently in the background or open a window so the night breeze can move through the room. Pull your blanket a little closer around you and slow your breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Good. You're safe here. And tonight we are traveling somewhere very old, older than memory itself. A civilization that endured for over 3,000 years. A kingdom of sunlight and stone, of gods that walked as men, and men who were worshipped as gods. This is not the Egypt of shadows and superstition. Forget the tales of curses, the tomb dust, the echo of plagues. Tonight we journey through the Egypt that lived and breathed, a land of rhythm and reverence, where silence stretches wide as the desert, and the Nile whispers softly in its sleep. If you enjoy these calm journeys through time, a small gesture means a lot. A gentle like, a subscribe, a comment telling me where you are listening from and what time it is there. It helps me bring more stories like this to you, and it reminds me that our tiny community stretches from one quiet room to another across the world. Now, settle back. Close your eyes if you wish. The fan is your desert wind. The soft hum of the night is your river. Take one more breath, and imagine the year is 1250 BCE. The world you know has vanished. You stand at the edge of a sunrise that has risen over Egypt for 1,000 years. To the west, the land of the dead. To the east, the land of the living. And between them flows the Nile, the pulse of creation itself. Congratulations, traveler. You've just woken up as a pharaoh, the light. You are the living god of the two lands, guardian of Maat, truth, order, and justice. The sun itself bows to your rising, and the world moves by your decree. The shadow, every breath you take must keep that balance intact. One wrong word, one failed omen, and chaos stirs beneath the throne. The light and the shadow, forever entwined upon your crown. For in Egypt, even a god must answer to the weight of the world. In the golden age of Egypt, the sun god Ra had risen over Paramesses, the royal capital in the delta. You are Ramesses II, beloved of Ra, father of princes, builder of monuments so great they will confuse archaeologists for millennia. You open your eyes to silence and to stone. The ceiling above you is painted midnight blue, strewn with golden stars. Servants move quietly beyond the veil, barefoot, careful not to let a bronze anklet chime. A thin thread of incense rises from a burning cone of myrrh, its scent heavy and sweet, like sun-warmed honey. Your bed is a platform of carved cedar, its legs shaped like lion paws. The linen beneath you is cool and fine, woven by temple women and bleached white in the sun. When you shift, the linen whispers like papyrus leaves. The air outside your window tastes of sand and river. Beyond the walls, you can already hear the first sounds of the capital waking. A donkey braying, a child laughing, a pot clattering in a courtyard kitchen. But within these walls, it is still dawn. A servant approaches with a bowl of cool water. She bows low, eyes to the floor, and places it at your feet. Another follows with a jar of sweet oil infused with lotus and cinnamon. You dip your hands into the water, clear as glass drawn from the Nile before sunrise. Drops slide down your forearms. and the priests begin to chant. Their voices are low at first, a rumble like distant thunder over the desert. Then they rise and fall in measured cadence. Praises to Amun-Ra, to Ptah of Memphis, to Horus, whose eye never closes. Each name spoken is a beat in the cosmic heart. Each syllable keeps the universe from slipping back into chaos. When they finish, you touch your forehead with the water, a gesture older than the pyramids themselves. Purified, you are no longer merely a man. You are the incarnation of Horus, the falcon who guards the sky. The royal attendants dress you in layers of linen. First, the simple kilt, pleated, crisp, cool against your skin. Then a broad collar of faience and gold, its rows of tiny beads pressing lightly against your collarbone. Bracelets of gold coil around your wrists. Finally, the Nena's headdress is set upon your head, striped in blue and gold, framed by the cobra of sovereignty. The weight of the crown is real. It presses down, reminding you that every grain of sand from Nubia to the Mediterranean answers to you. Outside the palace, light spills over columns carved with hieroglyphs. Their shadows stretch like spears across the courtyard. The marble fountains glitter and the air shimmers with heat not yet born of the day, but of the sun's promise. A pair of royal lions, sleek and drowsy from their night meal, yawn beside the steps. Beyond them wait the priests of Amun, white-robed and barefoot, each holding a staff of reed and gold. When they see you, they bow as one and begin the morning offering, the daily ritual that has been performed for 1,000 mornings and will be performed for 1,000 more after you are gone. They burn incense before small statues of the gods. They pour milk into silver basins and place cakes of bread on polished slabs of alabaster. Each gesture is measured, each movement deliberate. The world is sustained by precision. You stand motionless, watching the smoke rise. The priests believe it carries their words to the sky. To you, it feels like breath, the breath of a nation inhaling and exhaling with the rhythm of a ray. After the offering, you walk the length of the hall. It is so long that its columns vanish into shadow, and the sound of your footsteps echoes back a half-second later. Every inch of wall is carved with your deeds, battles fought, temples built, gods appeased. The hieroglyphs shine freshly painted, lapis for the sky, red ochre for the earth, malachite for the fields of the Nile. Scribes follow behind you, carrying palettes and papyrus scrolls. They record everything, not just your commands, but your expressions, your pauses, your silences. For in Egypt, silence can be as powerful as speech. Breakfast is served in a room open to the garden. The lotus ponds are still, their flowers unfolding in the heat. You eat slowly, bread baked at dawn, dates still warm from the oven, a slice of roasted duck seasoned with coriander and salt brought from the Red Sea. Your cup is filled with beer, light, sweet, golden. Children of the palace play near the fountain, their laughter like bird song over the rush of water. For a moment, you let yourself watch them. It is a rare moment of quiet joy. Even a pharaoh is allowed to breathe. When the meal is done, your vizier arrives, a thin, careful man named K, whose eyes miss nothing. He carries a bundle of scrolls tied with red cord. The business of empire has no end. He reads reports from Thebes, temple walls nearly complete, a shipment of gold from Nubia delayed by flood. Then from Memphis, grain shortage in the south, petition for tax relief. And from the frontier, a Hittite envoy requests audience. bearing gifts and rumors. You listen with half-closed eyes. Each fact weighs something, a measure of trust, a sliver of power. You speak rarely. When you do, your words are short and final. Mid-morning light grows brighter, filling the palace courtyards with a white glow. From your balcony you can see the city of PHARAOH stretching into the distance, rows of mud brick houses, markets roofed in reeds, gardens of fig trees and pomegranate. The Nile glitters beyond, freighted with boats, merchant barges, papyrus skiffs, and royal galleys painted red and gold. The wind carries the smell of fish and wet clay. A falcon circles above, perhaps a sign from Horus. You think of your ancestors, Djoser, whose architect Imhotep built the first pyramid, Khufu, whose tomb touches the sky, Hatshepsut, the woman who wore the crown as a man. Their names survive because their stones survive. And so you build temples to Amun at Thebes, Colossi at Abu Simbel, palaces that will outlast your bones. The courtyards hum with the sounds of life, sandals brushing against stone, the bray of donkeys, the muted rhythm of wooden wheels creaking under baskets of grain. The morning has fully opened its golden eyes, and with it comes the living pulse of empire. You stand at the balcony's edge. Below, attendants arrange jars of honey and baskets of bread as offerings for your people. In the distance, the blue strip of the Nile shimmers like a ribbon of glass. Somewhere out there, thousands of farmers have already stepped into the water with their oxen, their bodies glistening with sweat and sunlight. They turn the mud of the river into food. You turn that food into power. The air trembles with heat. Even the light seems alive, as though the sun itself were a living god stretching its arms across the kingdom. You squint slightly, tracing the faint outline of the eastern horizon where the temples of Heliopolis catch the first blaze of morning. It is said that Ra was born there every day. Your vizier gestures gently. It is time. You walk through halls lined with reliefs of conquered lands, Nubia, Syria, Canaan, each enemy carved smaller than life, each figure bowing before your throne. This is not vanity. This is order, Mot. Everything has its place. The floor beneath you is a mosaic of lapis and alabaster. As you step, it feels cool through the thin linen sandals. You pass under lintels heavy with paint, scenes of offering, of war, of peace. At the far end of the hall, sunlight pools on your throne, a seat of cedar and gold shaped like twin lions. When you sit, their golden eyes catch the light. The chamber fills with officials. Their linen garments rustle like wings. Scribes unroll papyrus scrolls across their knees, dipping reed pens into ink of soot and water. Petitioners kneel, waiting to speak. It smells faintly of ink and sweat, but also of power, that unique electric stillness that descends when 100 lives depend on a single word. The first man rises, a trader from Byblos. He bows, presents you with cedar logs, and pleads for safe passage through Egyptian waters. You nod once. Your vizier records your decision, approval, a tax of 1/10, and a token for the gods. Next comes a soldier, sunburned and lean. He kneels, head bowed low, asking permission to retire after 20 years of campaign. His hands tremble. You allow it. A modest pension, enough grain for his family until the flood returns. Then a mother from Thebes, her husband lost in the desert patrols, her son accused of theft. Her eyes never meet yours, but her voice does not shake. You gesture to the guards. The boy is released. She falls to the floor, sobbing, not from sorrow this time, but from something older and heavier, relief. The hall grows warmer. Beads of sweat run down your neck. You raise a hand and the audience ends. The scribes bow, roll up their scrolls, and retreat like the tide. Silence returns. You lean back, feeling the smooth gold of the armrest under your palm. Even a god must rest between decrees. Outside, the sun climbs higher, burning away the morning haze. The smell of wet clay drifts in from the city. Someone nearby is shaping new jars in the royal workshops. The sound of hammering echoes from a courtyard where artisans carve scenes of victory onto limestone slabs. Every sound is creation, every echo a heartbeat of empire. You cross into the royal garden, a cool sanctuary enclosed by walls high enough to hold back the desert. Water trickles through narrow channels cut from the fountains, feeding lotus ponds thick with flowers. The air here feels moist, gentle, almost kind. Your queen, Nefertari, waits under a canopy of palm fronds. She wears a gown of translucent linen, her arms bright with gold bangles. When she turns, the beads of her collar shimmer like sunlight on the Nile. She smiles. It's a private expression, one the statues will never capture. You sit together on low cushions. A servant pours pomegranate juice into alabaster cups. The fruit stains the air with a sweet, tart scent. For a few quiet moments you speak of small things, the state of the lotus ponds, the coming festival of Opet, the new temple being built in her honor at Thebes. Her voice is calm, melodic. When she speaks, you can almost forget the weight of your crown. She asks if you've slept. You lie and say yes. A pharaoh must not confess to dreams. Somewhere in the distance you hear flutes, faint, steady, like the echo of another world. The musicians are rehearsing for tonight's banquet. For now the music drifts like wind over water. Nefertari places her hand over yours. Her fingers are cool. Her eyes, dark as river mud, hold yours for a long moment. In them, you see something simple and human, something even the gods envy. Then she laughs softly, rises, and disappears into the shade of the palms, leaving behind only the scent of lotus oil. It is now noon. The city outside your walls trembles with sound, the hiss of heat over stone, the buzz of insects, the rhythmic chant of workers in the fields. The priests of Amun are ready for the procession. They wait in the outer courtyard with standards of gold and feathers of ostrich. The sacred bark, a shrine carried on the shoulders of 12 men, glitters beneath the sun. Inside, hidden from the crowd, rests the small gilded statue of Amun-Ra. You emerge to a roar of trumpets. Citizens line the avenue, throwing flowers and shouting blessings. Children wave palm branches. Old women lift jars of water toward you, hoping your gaze will make them holy. The heat presses on your shoulders like a mantle. Sweat runs down your spine beneath the linen. Still, you keep your face serene, your steps measured. You are not walking as a man, you are walking as order itself. The bark sways as the priests move forward, chanting. They will carry it from the palace to the temple of Amun at Karnak, a journey of hours beneath the blaze of noon. Behind them, dancers move in slow rhythm, arms raised, gold bracelets chiming in the sun. When you reach the temple gates, the air changes. The cool shadow of the pylons swallows the light. Inside, the walls rise like cliffs, every inch carved with prayers. The air smells of incense, sweat, and stone. Echoes whisper up to the high ceilings. where tiny windows spill beams of dust-lit gold. The high priest kneels, his shaven head glistening. He murmurs invocations. Life to you, O son of Ra. Strength to you, who holds the two lands. May Maat live through your breath. You nod slightly. A tray of offerings is set before you. Bread, figs, honey, goose, and wine. You take a piece of bread, break it, and lift it toward the god. The ritual is complete. Re is fed. Egypt will live another day. You step back into the sunlight, blinking. The crowd outside erupts again. Drums beat, feet stamp, voices rise, all of it crashing like surf against the walls of stone. For a moment, you feel it, that strange pulse between mortal and divine. The energy of thousands flowing through you, not at you, as though you were the conduit of life itself. But it fades quickly. The priests carry the god back into the temple's shadows, and the crowd disperses into alleys of mud brick homes. The air grows quieter. The light begins its slow descent. You return to the palace through an avenue of sphinx. Their eyes are blank but eternal. They have watched every pharaoh pass and will watch every one to come. By late afternoon, the heat softens. Shadows crawl up the walls like living paint. You remove the headdress. Your hair, oiled and braided, falls to your shoulders. Servants wipe your skin with cool cloths soaked in perfumed water. You exhale slowly, feeling the scent of lotus surround you again. On a low table nearby, papyrus scrolls lie open. Records of harvests, ship manifests, letters from vassal kings. You pick one at random. The handwriting is neat, precise. To the great king of Egypt, from the prince of Ugarit, I send lapis from the mountains. May the friendship of our fathers continue. You roll the scroll and set it aside. Politics can wait until dusk. For now, your attention drifts to the window, to the faint shimmer of the Nile far below, the reflection of clouds on water, the herons gliding low over the reeds. A breeze stirs the curtains. You hear the faint hum of bees somewhere in the garden. The scent of figs ripening in the heat reaches you. Everything feels suspended, not moving, not still, just balanced, like Maat itself. The air grows heavy now, layered with the scent of baked clay and perfumed oil. Outside the palace, Egypt swelters in its golden trance. Even the flies move lazily, tracing slow circles in the stillness. You sit in the shade of a tall column, watching sunlight crawl across the floor. Time in Egypt does not pass. It drifts. Each hour feels eternal, as if the sun itself refuses to leave this kingdom. From the western windows you can see the faint shimmer of desert dunes. Beyond them lies the Valley of the Kings, your eventual home. The thought flickers through your mind like a shadow on water, then disappears. A young servant enters, carrying a shallow bowl of cool water. He kneels, offers it with trembling hands. You dip your fingers, then press a few drops against your eyelids. The water smells faintly of lotus. It is a small mercy against the heat. Behind you, two musicians play quietly. One plucks a lute made from sycamore wood, the other breathes softly into a reed flute. The music is repetitive, hypnotic, slow as the heartbeat of the Nile. You feel your shoulders loosen, your mind begin to float. Kay, the vizier, returns with two new visitors. One is the chief scribe of the archives, a thin man with ink-stained fingers. The other is your royal architect, Pentu, broad-shouldered, dust still clinging to his sandals from the worksite at Abu Simbel. They bow low before speaking. The scribe unrolls a scroll. Lines of black hieroglyphs march neatly down its surface. He reports the numbers of workers, the weight of limestone blocks delivered from Tura, the quantity of copper chisels used and lost. You nod occasionally, picturing the rhythm of men hauling ropes in the sun. Every figure represents sweat, prayer, endurance. Then Pentu speaks of your temple in Nubia, two colossal statues already rising from the cliff face, each one carved in your image. He describes the precision of their eyes, how they align with the sunrise twice a year so that the first light of morning will touch your face and the inner sanctum of Ra. You close your eyes for a moment, imagining it, the mountain glowing, the river below turning gold, your stone likeness waking with the sun. When Pentu finishes, you offer him a ring of gold. He presses it to his forehead in gratitude. Another monument moves closer to completion, another whisper of immortality sealed in stone. The next petitioners are messengers from the southern frontier. Their skin is burned deep brown, their robes stiff with dust. They bring news of Nubian traders and rumors of raiders beyond the cataracts. One of them unrolls a rough map on the floor, lines of ink marking the Nile's path through mountains and sand. You study it silently, then mark a spot with your finger. A new fortress will rise there, you decide, to guard the trade of gold and ivory. A gesture from your hand and thousands of lives will soon bend to stone and hammer. The messengers withdraw. Their sandals leave faint trails of dust across the polished tiles, the only trace of the desert allowed in your hall. Later, as the palace cools, you walk through the workshops. Here life hums again. Sculptors chip at limestone blocks, coaxing faces from the stone. Painters grind pigments, malachite for green, ochre for red, crushed lapis for blue. Goldsmiths melt metal in small furnaces, the air shimmering above their fires. One boy kneels over a sheet of papyrus, sketching a falcon with steady hand. His master watches, correcting a line with a reed stylus. You pause behind them. The boy senses your presence and freezes, the brush suspended. You place a hand on his shoulder, light, almost weightless, and he exhales. Later he will tell his grandchildren that the pharaoh touched him and his art. It will make him famous for a generation. The artisans sing as they work, short verses calling for patience and precision. Their voices echo against the courtyard walls, mingling with the ring of chisels. To them, work is prayer. Each statue they finish is not just for you, but for eternity. You step into a shaded corridor. Columns on both sides are carved with scenes of your victories, chariots racing, enemies kneeling, gods extending the ank of life to your lips. But here in the quiet, those carvings feel distant. They belong to the idea of you, not the man. A window slit lets in a narrow beam of sunlight, and dust floats through it like tiny stars. You raise your hand, watching the motes swirl between your fingers. Each one could be a world, brief, glowing, gone. The silence is broken only by the murmur of pigeons nesting on the roof. Their cooing sounds almost like a lullaby. You lean against the cool stone and close your eyes for a breath or two. The crown feels lighter when no one is watching. As afternoon begins to wane, the palace shifts into a new rhythm. Servants hurry through the halls carrying baskets of fruit, amphorae of wine, and trays of bread still warm from the ovens. The cooks chant softly to themselves, old songs meant to keep the food pure and the knives steady. In the great kitchen courtyard, fires blaze in clay stoves. The smell of roasting goose and honey fills the air. Spices from the Red Sea, cinnamon, myrrh, cumin, drift upward in waves. You walk among them briefly, unseen by most. It pleases you to know that every loaf and cup served tonight began with hands that work, not with words that command. Outside, the light begins to bend. The Nile mirrors the sky in bands of orange and silver. The heat loosens its grip on the land. A breeze moves through the palms, rattling their leaves like soft rain. You climb the steps to the western terrace, a private place high above the city. From here you can see everything: the gleaming rooftops of Pi Ramesses, the slow procession of boats on the river, the thin line of desert where the dead await their sun. For a long while you say nothing. You simply breathe, feeling the day slide away from your skin. The palace behind you glows in the low light. Its walls, painted with scenes of the afterlife, seem almost alive. A servant appears with a small bronze basin and a wick floating in oil. He lights it. The flame flickers, bending toward the wind, and in that tiny dance you see the same fragility that fills all living things, yourself included. The servant withdraws, leaving you alone with the coming night. When the sun touches the horizon, the priests gather again on the eastern platform. They face the dying light, arms raised. You join them, the gold of your bracelets catching the last glow of the day. The chant begins low, rhythmic, like the pulse of the earth itself. Re departs the world of men. He sails into the underworld. May he be renewed. May we be renewed with him. A platter of incense is set alight. The smoke curls upward, a slow column against the sky. You watch it twist and vanish. This is Egypt's promise. Every setting sun will rise again. Every death is a door. Every night, a journey through darkness toward dawn. The horizon swallows the light. For a breathless instant, the world holds still. Then the first stars appear. The priests bow deeply, then depart in silence. You remain staring at the river turned black beneath the moon. Somewhere out there, farmers are lighting their own lamps, whispering their own prayers. You feel connected to them, not by blood, but by breath. Each of you inhales the same night air that flows from desert to sea. When you return inside, the palace has changed. The corridors are dim, lit by oil lamps whose flames tremble in the draft. Shadows move like water across the painted walls. The noise of the city fades behind thick stone. Your attendants follow at a distance. They remove your jewelry piece by piece, folding each item into soft cloth. The broad collar of gold, the bracelets, the rings, all placed carefully into carved boxes. Finally, the headdress. Your scalp tingles as the air touches it. For the first time today, you feel like a man again. They wash your hands in scented water, then pour milk and honey into a small silver bowl for you to sip. It coats your throat, sweet and cool. The taste lingers as you move toward your bedchamber. The bed awaits, its linen sheets fresh, perfumed with crushed petals. A cat curls near the foot, eyes half closed. It stretches, then settles again, purring softly. The sound is steady, comforting, like the river in miniature. You sit at the edge of the bed. The oil lamps flicker, throwing soft light on the hieroglyphs painted above you. Prayers for protection, for life, for resurrection. Your mind drifts. You think of the temples rising in your name, of the artisans carving your face in stone. You wonder, briefly, if any of them will still speak your name 3,000 years from now. Then the thought fades, replaced by the quiet rhythm of your own breathing. Evening falls over pie remesses. The palace grows quieter now. The cooks have banked their fires. The corridors, once alive with footsteps, lie still except for the faint hiss of oil burning in bronze lamps. You feel the air cooling at last, a slow sigh that travels through the open courtyards and across the reflecting pools. You rise once more and step out onto the terrace. The marble is cool beneath your feet. Above you, the sky unfolds, deep indigo fading to black at the edges, scattered with stars that seem close enough to touch. The smell of night jasmine drifts from the gardens below. Across the river, the western cliffs are only shadows now. You know what lies there, the tombs of kings, sealed with spells and guarded by silence. Your own tomb waits somewhere among them, half-finished, its corridors echoing with the tap of chisels as artisans carve prayers into stone. Each blow of the hammer is a heartbeat of your future. You close your eyes. For a moment you imagine the workers far below, their lamps flickering against the limestone walls. They carve scenes of your victories, of I granting you eternal life. But in truth, they are carving for themselves too, for the small immortality that comes from leaving a mark. A gust of wind rises from the river and brushes against your face. It carries the scent of silt and reeds, the smell of the Nile, the smell of life. You inhale slowly, letting it fill your lungs. Every pharaoh has breathed this same air. Every pharaoh has stood here, watching the same stars, wondering if the gods were listening. Inside, the attendants have prepared the room for rest. Lamps burn low, their flames steady. The floor glows faintly from polished alabaster. A carved headrest waits beside the bed, curved wood shaped like a crescent moon. A servant kneels, offering a small ivory box of scented ointment. You take a trace of it on your fingertips, myrrh and cedar, sharp and sweet, and touch it to your temples. The scent anchors you. It is the same mixture used in the temples, in burials, in coronations. In Egypt, life and death share the same perfume. The chief attendant speaks softly. May the gods guard your sleep, my king. You nod, but your mind is already wandering. He extinguishes one lamp after another until only a single flame remains near the doorway. It flickers, bending in the current of air, painting the walls with shadows that move like slow water. You lie back, the linen is cool against your skin. The cat stirs, then settles at your side, purring again. Your heartbeat matches its rhythm. Somewhere outside, a night bird calls, a long, low sound that seems to echo through centuries. Sleep comes lightly at first. You hover between waking and dreaming, between man and God. You see flashes, the golden bark of Re sailing beneath the earth, the great gates of the underworld opening to your name. The goddess Maat placing her feather upon a scale beside your heart. The scenes shift, temples rise from the desert. Your statues tower against the sun. The Nile floods and withdraws in endless rhythm. Time folds in on itself until you no longer know if you are dreaming of Egypt or if Egypt is dreaming of you. Voices whisper through the dark, the priests chanting, the artisans singing, the children laughing by the river. They blend together into a single, steady hum, the sound of civilization itself. You turn slightly, the linen rustles like distant surf. The cat opens one golden eye, then drifts back to sleep. Outside, the moon climbs higher, casting silver through the window. It pools across the floor, slides up the side of the bed, and rests on your hands. For a heartbeat, the light makes them glow. as though the God within you has not yet finished his work. Far to the south in Thebes, priests perform the same rituals. They light torches in the courtyards of Karnak, whispering hymns to the absent sun. They believe the pharaoh's spirit sails beside Ra through the underworld each night, fighting the serpent of chaos so that dawn may return. And so, even as you sleep, your duty continues. The cosmos itself depends on your dreams. The wind carries the faint echo of those hymns to Pi-Ramesses. You might hear them in your sleep, or perhaps the gods do, through you. The stars wheel slowly above the desert. The constellations are the same ones your astronomers have tracked for centuries. The bull of heaven, the hippopotamus of the north, the falcon's eye. Each one tells a story of rebirth. You breathe out. The sound is almost imperceptible. Somewhere in the dark, the flame by the door trembles, steadies, and goes out. When the first faint light touches the horizon, the servants will come again. They will bring water, oils, and linen. The priests will chant the hymn of awakening. You will rise, renewed, to greet Ara as he is reborn from the east. This cycle will repeat tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that, until stone replaces flesh, and your likeness stands where you once stood. But even then, the ritual will continue. Another voice will sing your hymns. Another hand will pour the oil, because in Egypt the divine order never ends. For now, though, there is only this: the stillness of night, the whisper of the river, the slow rhythm of your breath. You are both mortal and eternal, both man and myth. And somewhere beyond these walls, the Nile turns in its bed and dreams of you. As the final lamp fades and the palace sinks into silence, the world outside begins to stir again. In the villages along the river, farmers rise to greet the dawn, unaware that their pharaoh still drifts between dream and eternity. The lamps burn low, the wind carries the scent of lotus and dust, and the rhythm of Egypt continues. As the day fades and the lamps burn low once more, the world shifts again. Let's drift onward to another corner of history, beyond the palace gates, into the heartbeat of the city itself. This is Pi-Ramesses, Egypt's shining jewel, where power flows like the Nile and devotion fills the air. Beyond the marble courtyards of the palace, thousands wake beneath roofs of sun-baked mud brick, their lives bound to the Nile's eternal rhythm. You wake again, this time not as a pharaoh in chambers of gold, but as the eye that sees his people. The first light rolls down from the east, turning the river into molten silver. Mist rises from the water, curling around the masts of moored boats. Fishermen push their papyrus skiffs into the current, the reeds brushing their knees. The smell of wet earth, of grain and smoke, fills the air. The Nile has flooded and withdrawn. Its gift of black silt lies thick across the fields. In that fertile mud, life begins again. Women step into courtyards carrying baskets of barley. Men tie their linen kilts tighter, preparing to guide oxen through the fields. Children chase each other between walls streaked with chalk drawings of birds and gods. A rooster crows somewhere, foreign but familiar enough. The city stirs, stretching like a giant waking from sleep. You watch from your chariot at the edge of the avenue. The horses stamp impatiently, their manes braided with blue thread. Your guards form a quiet circle around you, not to keep people out, but to keep order among the flood of greetings that follows your passage. Hands rise, voices murmur blessings. life, prosperity, health. The air shimmers. The sun has fully broken the horizon, and its heat pours into the streets. Shadows shrink, colors bloom. Every wall, every jar, every human face glows in gold. The road widens into the central market, an open square framed by stalls of reed and cloth. The smell is overwhelming. Fresh fish drying on racks, onions in woven baskets, the sharp tang of leather, the sweetness of figs. Merchants shout prices in a dozen dialects. A donkey brays, a potter's wheel hums. You move slowly through the crowd. Your chariot cannot fit between the stalls, so you step down and walk. For the first time since dawn, no one kneels. They glance, they whisper, but they keep working. It feels strangely peaceful, the sound of survival louder than the sound of worship. At one stall, a woman sells perfume sealed in small alabaster jars. She crushes lotus petals in a mortar, adds a drop of oil, and stirs until fragrance fills the air. At another, a man carves small wooden idols of Bais, the dwarf god who guards homes and children. He hands one to a young mother, and she slips it into her sling beside her baby's head. Coins are rare. Trade runs on trust and measure. A baker hands over a bundle of bread. In return, he receives onions and beer. A fisherman pays his tax by leaving 2 carp on a temple step. You notice the hierarchy even here. Scribes moving easily between stalls, their linen cleaner, their voices carrying authority. Laborers barefoot, their backs shiny with sweat. Foreign traders marked by bright fabrics and curious eyes. Yet there's order, not chaos. Each knows his place, and beneath it all lies the quiet certainty that the Nile will rise again. You ride out of the city toward the riverbanks where the farmers work. The wheels of your chariot cut thin lines in the dust. Soon the streets give way to fields, squares of deep green bordered by narrow canals. Water glints in every channel. Palm trees stand like sentinels along the edges. Men drive wooden plows pulled by oxen with horns curved like the moon. Women follow, scattering seed from woven baskets. Children slap at flies, laughing. The rhythm of their chant matches the rhythm of the plow. Ha, ya, ha, ya, turn. You pause to watch. The sight is hypnotic, the endless folding of mud, the gleam of water, the movement of life between heaven and earth. A boy offers you a cluster of dates, sticky and warm from the sun. You take one, bite gently, taste sweetness, and hand the rest back. He beams. He will remember this for the rest of his life. Farther down the bank, the fishermen pull their nets from the shallows. They work in teams of 3 or 4, their bodies lean and brown from years in the sun. The nets sparkle with silver as they lift tilapia, perch, eels twisting in protest. They laugh, shout jokes across the water, their voices echoing like birds. One boatman invites you aboard his reed skiff. It rocks gently as you step in. He shows you how they read the current, not by sight, but by feel, by the small tremors through the soles of their feet. The boat drifts silently. The sound of the city fades. The world becomes water and sky. Reeds whisper against the hull. Frogs croak from the marshes. Somewhere unseen, an ibis calls. This is Egypt's other face. Not marble and gold, but mud and breath. The patient life that feeds the gods. When you return to shore, you follow a narrow path toward a cluster of low houses. Smoke curls from their roofs. Children run barefoot in the dust, waving at your procession. This is the workers' village, a place few pharaohs ever see. The homes are small, built of mud brick baked in the sun. Each has a single doorway hung with woven reeds. Inside, the air is cooler, smelling of bread and ash. Women grind grain on stone querns, their arms moving in slow, practiced rhythm. Their palms are white with flour. They hum under their breath, half prayer, half lullaby. In one corner, a boy shapes a lump of clay into a small jug. He smooths its sides with wet fingers, sets it in the sun to dry. His mother glances up and smiles when she sees you. Her teeth are worn but strong. Her face lined but beautiful in the way of those who have endured many floods and many harvests. You speak softly to her, asking if the granaries have been fair this year. She nods, bows, thanks you for the flood that came on time. You almost tell her it was not your doing, that it was the star Sirius that foretold it, that it was the gods and the river, not you. But you stop. Faith is a delicate clay. It must not be cracked by truth. Near the edge of the village stands a small building, its walls whitewashed and inscribed with rows of hieroglyphs. Inside, the air hums with recitation. Boys sit cross-legged on mats, reed pens in hand, copying lines from wooden boards. The smell of ink and papyrus fills the room. The master scribe walks among them, tapping shoulders with a stick, not cruelly, but to keep rhythm. They chant as they write. To be a scribe is to command words. To command words is to command the world. You pause at the doorway watching. Here is Egypt's true engine, not gold, but knowledge. The scribes record harvests, births, deaths, taxes, the movements of the stars. Without them, the kingdom would dissolve into sand. One boy looks up, eyes wide. He sees his pharaoh watching. You smile, and he quickly lowers his gaze, pretending to focus on his tablet. But his hand trembles, the ink splattering slightly. He will keep that board for years, a secret relic of this moment. You follow the sound of hammers. It comes from a long shed built against a cliff face where the sun never quite reaches. Inside, sparks leap like fireflies. This is the heart of Egyptian craft, the bronze-smelling world of chisels, drills, and saws. Men squat over blocks of alabaster, tracing outlines with red pigment. Each tap of the hammer is measured, respectful, as if the stone itself were alive. The sculptor's hands are calloused, yet the figures they create are tender. Ibis, lions, lotus flowers, the curved brow of a god. Nearby, coppersmiths pour glowing metal into molds. It hisses as it meets the air, hardening into knives, mirrors, bracelets. The smell is sweet and metallic. The heat makes your eyes water. A foreman bows when he sees you. He holds up a mirror, polished to a perfect sheen. Your own face stares back, lined by light, rimmed by smoke. Behind you, the workers pause, waiting. You nod once. They exhale together, relieved, and return to their rhythm. The clang of metal becomes almost musical, steady, hypnotic, like a heartbeat made of earth and fire. You linger there, letting it fill your chest. Each strike feels eternal, echoing into the ages. In the adjoining courtyard, color replaces sound. Painters kneel before panels of plaster, mixing pigments in shallow shells, red from ochre, blue from crushed azurite, green from malachite. The air smells faintly of gum and vinegar. They work in silence, broken only by the gentle whisper of brushes. You watch a young artist draw a lotus flower opening to the sun. The lines are simple but alive, each curve breathing. He outlines petals, fills them with blue, then dots the center with gold. The wall becomes a garden, the room a living scroll. Farther down, women weave linen on upright looms. Threads stretch like rays of light. Their fingers move faster than thought. One hums a melody, low, repetitive, ancient. The loom creaks softly with every pass of the shuttle. Dust motes drift through the beams of light, turning the air to honey. The fabrics they weave will become everything. Bandages for mummies, sails for ships, dresses for queens. Theirs is invisible labor, yet without it, the empire would stand naked. You think of Nefertari, your queen, draped in the finest linen, and of these women who spin her grace from thread and patience. You move deeper into the city, the streets narrow, packed with workshops that smell of smoke and clay. Here the sound is constant, the rasp of stone, the slap of wet hands shaping pots, the crackle of kilns. Potters work quickly, spinning their wheels with bare feet. They mold jars for oil, bowls for bread, urns for wine. Each one bears the same form perfected over centuries, curved, balanced, useful. You ask one man how he knows when a pot is ready. He smiles without looking up. When it sings, he says, tapping the rim, the note rings pure, soft, complete. Across the lane, bakers pull loaves from mud ovens. The crusts split open with steam. Children wait in line, clutching reed baskets. The smell of barley and smoke fills the air, blending with laughter. You break a small loaf, taste it warm. Grain, salt, the faint sweetness of honey. Simple, perfect. For a moment you are not feral, but human, fed by the same earth as everyone else. At the edge of PHARAOH stands the caravan gate. Beyond it stretches the desert road to Sinai and Canaan. Here the world feels wider. Camels and donkeys kneel beneath loads of copper, turquoise, and incense. Traders shout in foreign tongues, words from Byblos, from Babylon, from lands where rain, not river, feeds the soil. You hear accents thick with dust and salt. A Phoenician merchant opens a cedar chest to show lapis stones that glimmer like frozen sky. A Nubian man offers leopard skins, dark and spotted. An envoy from Hatti bows low, presenting a clay tablet sealed with his king's mark. The market smells different here, sharp with spices, heavy with sweat and tar. The air buzzes with barter. No one cares for bloodline or divinity, only weight and worth. You admire it, quietly. Trade is its own god, patient and impartial. Past the noise of the caravans, you come to a quiet quarter shaded by date palms. A doorway stands open. Inside, the home of a scribe. He greets you with astonishment, but quickly kneels. You motion him up. The house is modest, but ordered, walls painted with faded verses, shelves lined with papyrus rolls tied in linen. A writing desk sits near the window, where light falls just so. He explains his work, recording grain tallies, births, temple offerings. Each number, each name, a thread in the vast fabric of the state. He shows you his reed pen, its tip split fine, and a small palette holding cakes of red and black ink. His fingers are permanently stained, his posture bowed, but his eyes are bright, the eyes of someone who sees time itself through symbols. You ask what he writes for himself. He hesitates, then unrolls a narrow scroll. Lines of poetry, simple and clear. The river flows. The stars return. But a name written well outlives both water and fire. You read it twice, then hand it back. He bows again, eyes shining. Outside, the breeze lifts the edge of a curtain, scattering dust across the sunlight like gold leaf. By midday, the streets are almost empty. People retreat indoors, hiding from the furnace of the sun. The sound of life fades to murmurs. Even the river seems to sleep. You find shade beneath a portico lined with carved pillars. The stone radiates heat. A boy pours water over your hands. It evaporates before it reaches your wrists. The world smells of dust and sweat, yet there is something clean about it, a purity born of endurance. Above, vultures circle lazily against a cloudless sky. They are sacred to Nekhbet, goddess of Upper Egypt, protector of kings. Their slow spirals remind you of eternity, motion without haste, purpose without noise. You close your eyes. The hum of insects fills your ears. Somewhere nearby, a harp begins to play. The notes drift on the hot air, distant and shimmering. You breathe deeply, once, twice, again, the rhythm of the Nile itself. Egypt is harmony, or at least it strives to be. Every life, every breath, every grain of sand has its place within Mayat, the sacred balance. From the humblest potter to the highest vizier, each plays a role in keeping the world from slipping into chaos. As you walk the avenues of Pi-Ramesses, you can feel that balance like a heartbeat beneath the ground. A noble in his linen chariot passes a water carrier who bows deeply. Neither speaks, both understand the exchange. Respect flows upward, protection flows down. This is the order that built the pyramids, carved the temples, and kept famine at bay. At the top stands you, the pharaoh, living Horus, keeper of cosmic symmetry. Below you, the priests, whose rituals sustain the unseen. Then the scribes, whose ink binds the kingdom tighter than any chain. Beneath them, the craftsmen and soldiers, the farmers and fishermen. And at the base, the laborers, the slaves, the wanderers, souls who serve, pray, or disappear quietly into the dust. Yet even here, no one is truly alone. Every life depends on another, like papyrus stems woven into a single mat. Pull one strand too hard and the whole world unravels. You enter the sacred precinct of Amun at Thebes. Though it lies far south, its spirit touches every corner of Egypt. Massive columns rise like a stone forest, their capitals carved into lotus blooms. Incense burns in golden bowls. The air is heavy with frankincense and honey. Priests move in silence, shaven-headed, clothed in spotless white. Their feet are bare, their eyes calm and distant. They wash 4 times a day in the sacred lake before approaching the god's statue. Every gesture is measured, every word recited in a rhythm older than memory. One priest lifts a small jar of perfumed oil, pours a thin line along the floor. The fragrance curls upward, blending with the smoke. Another offers bread and figs upon a silver plate. A third rings a small sistrum. It sounds soft, metallic, like rain falling on bronze leaves. You stand in the half-light of the sanctuary. Before you, the statue of Amun gleams, its eyes inlaid with lapis lazuli. You cannot see the god within, but you can feel the hum, a deep vibration that settles in your chest. Here, in this quiet, Egypt breathes not through lungs, but through ritual. The priests are its heartbeat, their prayers its pulse. And you, Pharaoh, are both patient and physician, the God made flesh who ensures the rhythm never falters. Outside the temple walls, order is kept by another brotherhood, the soldiers. They are the keepers of peace, the walls of the kingdom. you visit their barracks near the city gate. The air smells of sweat, leather, and oiled bronze. Rows of shields lean against the wall, their surfaces polished to mirror the sunlight. Spears stand upright like a forest of reeds. Men spar in pairs, wooden swords clacking softly. A captain calls cadence in a graveled voice. You watch the discipline, the quick bow, the measured strike, the sudden stillness at command. Their loyalty is not born of fear, but of pride. To serve Egypt is to belong to something vast, enduring, divine. One veteran steps forward. His arm bears a scar from the Battle of Kadesh. He shows you a small amulet hanging from his neck, a falcon carved from carnelian. Protection of Horus, he says quietly. You touch it, nod once, and he smiles. That single gesture will echo through his life like a blessing. Later, you walk past the stables. The horses snort, stamping hooves against the packed earth. Their eyes gleam in the half-light. They too are warriors, creatures of wind and muscle, companions in glory. The sound of the training ground fades behind you, replaced by the low hum of the city. Order, devotion, strength, all interwoven like the threads of a single cloth. Beyond the soldiers' quarter lie the villas of the wealthy. Open courtyards shaded by fig trees, pools filled with lotus and tilapia. You pass through one gate where a nobleman greets you, kneeling until his forehead touches the floor. You lift him gently by the shoulders. He stammers thanks, overcome. He leads you through his garden. Perfume hangs in the air, acacia blossoms, sweet and heady. Peacocks stroll along the tiled paths. Servants pour wine into alabaster cups, chilled with snow brought from distant mountains. Inside the house, the walls are painted with scenes of banquets. Dancers with ribbons, guests raising cups, musicians playing lyres and flutes. The noble's wife appears, her hair braided and perfumed with myrrh. She offers you a lotus flower. Its petals tremble in her hand like something living still attached to the earth. They speak of trade and temple donations, of the coming flood and the health of their children. Their voices are soft, cautious, deference laced with hope. You listen, nodding. In this moment you are not their ruler, but their mirror, reflecting their fears and desires back to them with quiet understanding. As you leave, the noble bows again. His servants kneel behind him, heads bowed to the dust. The gate closes, muffling the laughter of his household, a fragile paradise hidden behind walls. You return to the river's edge as afternoon deepens. The light is softer now, a warm gold that turns the water to glass. The fields stretch outward like green quilts stitched by hand. Farmers work in silence except for the soft slap of water and the lowing of cattle. They are lean, sun-darkened, and content in the way of those who understand the rhythm of things. They read the sky and the river the way scribes read words, searching for signs, for warnings, for promises. A man waves as you approach. His skin shines with sweat. His hands are thick with callus. He offers you a jar of beer brewed from barley cloudy, slightly sour. You drink, feel it cool your throat. He smiles, proud to have shared his labor with his king. These are the people who feed the empire. Without them, temples would be empty, scribes idle, armies hungry. They own little, yet they hold Egypt on their shoulders. You look at them and feel a kind of reverence, not the worship of gods, but the quiet awe for human endurance. A young boy runs to his father, carrying a handful of frogs caught in the irrigation ditch. The man laughs, ruffles his hair, sets him back on the path. Life continues, simple, cyclical, certain. In a small corner of the city, near the temple's shadow, widows and orphans gather. They wait for food from the temple kitchens, a daily portion of bread, lentils, and dried fish. The priests distribute it quietly, without ceremony. You watch from afar as a child receives her bowl, clutches it tight, and runs back to share it with her younger brother. The sight moves you in a way victory never could. This is Egypt too, compassion small but enduring. A scribe notes each name, each portion. No one is forgotten, every soul accounted for. In this attention to detail lies the true genius of your civilization. The monuments may crumble, the gold may tarnish, but record endures. You turn away, the scent of baking bread following you down the alley. The sun dips lower, and the shadows stretch across the stones like long fingers reaching toward night. Evening descends like a slow exhalation. The heat withdraws, leaving the world wrapped in a soft glow. The Nile mirrors the sky in ribbons of bronze and lavender. Boats drift homeward, their sails catching the last traces of wind. From afar, the calls of boatmen echo across the water, long drawn-out notes that fade into the hum of frogs and crickets. You stand at the riverbank as fishermen pull their final nets for the day. Children splash at the edges, chasing small silver fish that dart between reeds. Women kneel at the shore, rinsing linen in the shallows. Their laughter carries light and easy, mingling with the rhythm of water against stone. A waterbird glides low over the current. Its wings barely brush the surface, leaving ripples that shimmer and vanish. In that instant, you see everything: the fragile beauty, the endless motion, the peace that only comes after labor. The sun sinks lower. Across the west bank, the desert glows for a final heartbeat, then cools to shadow. You watch until only the thin red line of the horizon remains. As darkness deepens, the city transforms. Oil lamps appear one by one, tiny flames blooming in doorways, on balconies, along the river's edge. They flicker like fireflies against the black. Each light is a family gathered for supper, a story told, a prayer whispered. You walk through the narrow streets. The smell of food hangs in the air: lentils with garlic, roasted duck, flatbread baked crisp on clay. Smoke rises in lazy spirals. Dogs bark once, then settle. From inside a small courtyard comes music. A woman singing to her child, her voice soft and low. Sleep, little lotus, sleep. The river keeps its promise. The sun will find you in the morning. The melody drifts outward, wrapping around the evening like silk. You pause, letting it settle into you. In this moment, you are not ruler or god, but simply another human, carried by the same tide of time. You pass a tavern near the harbor, where sailors gather after long voyages. The light spilling from its doorway is golden and warm. Inside, men sit cross-legged on mats, drinking beer from clay mugs. They tell stories of Nubia, of Tyre, of far-off lands where snow falls from the sky. Laughter erupts suddenly, then fades to murmurs. A small harp plays in the corner, 4 strings plucked softly. The notes are rough but heartfelt. Someone sings of home, of wives waiting by the shore, of journeys yet to come. The song ends, and for a moment there is silence, that deep shared stillness that follows something true. You smile and slip away unnoticed, your footsteps swallowed by the sand. Tonight, torches blaze near the temple square. It is the eve of the feast of Hathor, goddess of joy, music, and love. The streets fill with dancers wearing collars of colored beads. Men strike hand drums, women clap in rhythm. Perfume thickens the air, mingled with the scent of wine and smoke. You watch as offerings are carried past, baskets of grapes, loaves, flowers, and carved wooden cows draped in ribbons. The priestesses sing hymns that rise like smoke to the stars. Their voices weave through the drums, creating a rhythm that feels eternal. For a moment, the city forgets its hierarchies. Servants dance beside nobles, scribes beside laborers. Laughter fills the night. Egypt, for this brief hour, belongs to everyone. You feel a strange peace watching them, a reminder that devotion can be joy, not only duty. Even the gods, you think, must smile at this. Later, when the fires burn low, you return to the river. The moon has risen high, silvering the water. The air is cooler now, almost tender. You walk along the embankment where papyrus plants sway in the faint breeze. Each ripple of the current glints like a secret being told. In the distance, the temple pylons rise black against the stars. You hear the quiet chanting of night priests calling to the hidden sun, Ra, who sails beneath the world. Their voices are low, rhythmic, steady as the turning of the earth. You stand there a long while, breathing the scent of the river, clay, water, and life. It smells the same as it did 1,000 years before you, and will smell the same 1,000 years after. This is Egypt's eternity, not the monuments, not the gold, but the river that forgets nothing. As you make your way back to the palace, torches flicker in the streets, casting long shadows across the walls. A dog sleeps beside a doorway. A potter's wheel stands still, clay half-shaped upon it. The air hums faintly with crickets and distant song. You pass by the granaries, tall mud brick towers that smell faintly of grain and dust. Guards stand watch, spears in hand, their eyes weary but loyal. You nod to them, and they bow deeply. Behind those walls lie the wealth of the kingdom, the harvest that sustains millions. It is the heartbeat of empire, measured in sacks of wheat and jars of oil. Near the palace gates, a beggar sits with a small lamp and a half-empty bowl. You stop. He does not recognize you at first. Only another traveler beneath the hood of dusk. You drop a coin into the bowl. He looks up, startled, eyes wide, then smiles, a gap-toothed, grateful smile that seems to pierce time itself. When you step through the gates, the noise of the city fades behind the heavy stone doors. Only the whisper of wind and the rustle of palm leaves remain. The air carries a faint trace of the river, of smoke, of humanity itself. As the lamps along the river fade and the last echoes of music drift into the desert wind, the night deepens. The Nile glides on beneath the stars, endless, patient, carrying with it the voices of farmers, priests, lovers, and kings. The city sleeps, its dreams bound to the rhythm of the water, its heart beating in time with the universe itself. And as you turn from the river's edge, the world shifts once more. Let's drift onward into another corner of history, into the temples, gods, and the sacred power of faith that shaped their souls. Egypt is at the zenith of its power. Thebes stirs beneath a violet dawn. Across the Nile, Karnak and Luxor awaken, not temples for prayer, but the heartbeat of the cosmos itself. You stand before the pylons of Karnak. Two massive towers of sandstone catch the sun's first flame, their edges glowing red, then gold. Between them, a single avenue stretches east to west, lined with ram-headed sphinx, each one guarding the path with silent devotion. The air is still. The smell of lotus and incense lingers from last night's offerings. Beyond the gate, the temple opens like a city unto itself. Courtyards, columns, sanctuaries, lakes. You are small before it, as all must be before eternity. A priest approaches, shaven-headed, linen robe pure white. He bows, pressing his hands together. "Come," he whispers. The god awakens. You follow him through the gate. Your sandals touch cool stone, carved with prayers older than memory. Every surface is alive, hieroglyphs blooming in rows of color, scenes of kings presenting gifts to Amun-Ra. The columns soar higher than palm trees, their capitals painted with open papyrus blossoms. Light filters through the spaces between them, turning dust into gold. In the center court stands the sacred lake, still and dark. It reflects the sky like a second world. Priests bathe here before sunrise, washing away human dust so they may stand pure before the divine. You hear the faint splash of water, the rustle of linen, the quiet murmur of prayer. Then the horns sound, low, steady, echoing off stone. The morning ritual begins. Inside the inner hall, the air is thick with incense smoke. Torches flicker against the walls, revealing painted gods: Ra, Isis, Osiris, Thoth. At the far end stands the shrine, sealed since dusk. The high priest steps forward. He carries a key of bronze shaped like the Ankh. With deliberate grace, he unseals the door. Inside, in darkness, sits the statue of Amun-Ra, carved from ebony and inlaid with gold. Its eyes are veiled. The priest lifts a small cloth, damp with sacred oil, and wipes the eyes of the statue. He whispers, "Awaken, Great One, Lord of the throne of two lands." He replaces the veil, lights new incense, offers bread, figs, and beer. You stand in silence, breathing the mixture of oil and smoke, feeling time slow until it becomes something holy. Every gesture here mirrors the movements of the universe. The suns rise, the Niles flow, the breath between heartbeats. To the Egyptians, ritual was not remembrance. It was maintenance. If the gods were not fed, the world itself might starve. When the chant ends, the priests withdraw backward, never turning their backs to the divine. The doors close softly. Outside, sunlight floods the courtyard. Another day has been secured. You walk through side passages lined with storerooms. Inside, workers count sacks of grain, rolls of linen, jars of honey and oil. Temples are not only places of prayer, they are the empire's banks. Farmers tie their harvest here. Traders deposit their goods. Scribes tally every offering. A young accountant recites numbers under his breath, reed pen scratching on papyrus. He records gifts to Amun: 40 sacks of barley, 6 of figs, 2 silver rings, 1 cow. Each line an act of devotion rendered in ink. You ask him where all this wealth goes. He smiles shyly. To feed the gods, he says, meaning to feed everyone who serves them. Indeed, thousands live from the temple's bounty. Priests, guards, dancers, musicians, artisans, and their families. Faith here is not abstract. It is the backbone of economy. To pray is to provide. To serve the god is to feed the nation. Outside, you hear the rhythmic beat of mallets from the northern wall. New pylons are being carved, each block dragged from quarries miles away. The work never ends because devotion never ends. In the distance, the sun climbs higher, its light sliding down the statues of past kings. Their faces glow, then fade again into shadow. Days later, you travel north to Abydos, the sacred home of Osiris, Lord of the afterlife, Judge of souls. The desert stretches before you, flat and blinding. When the temple finally appears, it seems to rise from the sand like a mirage of stone. You step into its cool halls, and a shiver runs down your spine. The walls here are softer in tone, gentler in light. Carvings show the myth of Osiris, his death at the hands of Set, his resurrection by Isis, the birth of Horus. It is the story of Egypt itself, death, rebirth, balance restored. Pilgrims kneel in rows along the floor. Some have walked for weeks from distant villages. They press small offerings, garlands, bread, fragments of copper, to the base of the statue. Many weep as they pray. A priest touches each forehead with a feather, symbol of Mas. You see exhaustion give way to peace. Here, people are equal. The farmer beside the noble, the widow beside the scribe. Before Osiris, all hearts are weighed the same. You kneel too, just for a moment. The stone is cool beneath your palms. You whisper a silent wish, not for power, but for continuity, for Egypt to remain steady beneath the stars. The sun stands high over Thebes, and the air quivers with music. It is the festival of Opet, a time when the god Amin leaves his home at Karnak to visit the temple of Luxor, his earthly bride. The city blooms like a field of sound. Trumpets made of bronze cry out across the river. Drums answer, slow and thunderous. You stand among thousands who have come to see the sacred procession. The smell of myrrh and roasted grain floats on the breeze. Children ride on their fathers' shoulders. Women wave lotus stems, their laughter rising above the music. From the gate of Karnak emerges the sacred bark of Amun, a golden shrine mounted on poles carried by priests. Its hull gleams with electrum. Its prow curls like the sun's flame. Behind it follow the smaller barks of Mut and Khonsu, the divine family. As they pass, the crowd kneels. Hands lift toward the sky. The chant begins, rising and falling like breath. May Ammon sail in peace. May Thebes rejoice. May the two lands flourish. The procession winds through the avenue of Sphinx that links Karnak to Luxor. Along the route, dancers whirl, their skirts flaring like petals. Musicians beat hand drums, shake sistrums, blow long horns that shimmer in the heat. The sound rolls like thunder down the sandstone corridor. You walk behind the priests, feeling the vibration of hundreds of feet moving as one. Dust rises in pale clouds. Sunlight filters through it, turning everything gold. By the time the bark reaches Luxor Temple, the sky itself seems to pulse. Inside the temple's court, priests set the shrine upon a dais. They swing censers of incense until the air glows blue. Offerings are laid out, bread, wine, figs, geese, and flowers, enough to feed a god. Then the high priest pours a libation of pure water over the threshold, sealing the bond between heaven and earth. For 20 days the celebration continues. Feasts, dances, songs under the moon. Each night the bark rests in the temple. Each dawn it sails back along the Nile, symbol of the sun's own voyage through the underworld. When the festival ends, the city feels lighter, as if washed clean. Faith here is not only belief, it is participation. Every clap of hands, every step in rhythm, keeps the universe turning. But faith, like the river, changes course. Decades later, under the rule of Amenhotep IV, a new light dawns, too bright, too single. The pharaoh renames himself Akhenaten and declares that there is but one god, Aten, the visible sun. You find yourself standing in Akhenaten, his new city, built in a crescent of desert between cliffs and river. Gone are the shadowed halls and scented temples. Here, shrines are open to the sky. No roof hides the light. No idol stands within. The priests of Ammon are dismissed, their wealth confiscated. Old gods are erased from walls, chiseled out with cold precision. Where once you heard the chant of many voices, now you hear only the hymn to the disk of the sun. At dawn, you stand in the great court of the Aten temple. The light strikes your face directly. There's nowhere to hide. The heat wraps around you like cloth. Priests raise their hands to the sky, their palms open, their eyes closed against the glare. They sing the hymn to the Aten. When you rise, the earth lives. When you set, it dies. You are alone, but you are everything. The words are beautiful, yet somewhere beneath them you feel unease. Egypt has never been a land of one god. Its strength was in harmony, not exclusion. You see the faces of former priests in the crowd, expressionless, their hands bound to their sides. Still, there is a strange purity in the light. No smoke, no veil, only sun. You tilt your face upward and for a moment understand Akhenaten's vision, the idea that perhaps the divine is not housed in stone, but in warmth and motion, in the air that touches every living thing. You walk through its streets, broad avenues, white walls, gardens of sycamore and pomegranate. The city is new and fragile, like a dream carved from sand. Painters decorate the palaces with scenes of Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti beneath the sun, rays ending in tiny hands that offer life to their faces. The art feels different, fluid, intimate, human. Children play at their feet. Their bodies are real, not idealized. You hear laughter in the royal court for the first time in centuries. Even the pharaoh himself is depicted not as a god of perfection, but as a living man, thin, long-faced, tired. There is a gentleness in it that you find disarming. Yet outside the palace walls, grain runs short. The priests of the old gods withhold their support. Temples lie abandoned. Scribes write in secret to the south, petitioning for return to Ammon. Faith has become politics. The country fractures like dry clay. At night you stand beneath the stars and wonder if Aten is listening. The moon feels cold now, a mirror that reflects light but gives none. You realize that in banishing the old gods, Akhenaten may have banished comfort itself. Years later, the experiment ends. Akhenaten dies. His city empties like a dream forgotten after waking. The boy king Tutankhaten, soon Tutankhamun, restores the old ways. You stand once more in Thebes. The temples come alive again, drums, incense, color, crowds. The statues of Ammon are carried from hiding and washed in the sacred lake. People cry with relief, as if their own souls had been returned. In the midst of it all, you feel the weight of continuity. Egypt bends but does not break. The gods depart and return, but the Nile flows on. You watch the boy king step from his chariot, his face painted with youth and hope. He raises his hands to the sky. The crowd roars as one voice. The age of the sun alone is over. The age of many lights begins again. Smoke rises from 100 altars. The smell is sweet and familiar, like coming home. Night has fallen over Thebes. The Nile reflects the stars like 1,000 trembling lamps. You cross a bridge of stone and enter Luxor Temple, the twin heart of Amun's domain. The great courtyard glows with firelight. Torches flicker in the breeze. Their flames dance across the carved faces of gods and kings. Each relief seems alive, the muscles shifting, the eyes glinting as if they were breathing stone. Priests move in silence, shadows within shadows. Their linen robes whisper as they pass. You follow one into the hypo-style hall, where tall columns rise like petrified papyrus stalks reaching for heaven. The air is cool, fragrant with resin and smoke. From somewhere deep within comes a steady rhythm, the slow beat of a drum. With each thump, the sound trembles through the floor and into your chest. It feels like the pulse of the temple itself. On an altar sits a small brazier of glowing coals. A priest drops resin onto it, and blue smoke curls upward. You catch the scent, sweet, bitter, eternal. In that moment, you realize this aroma has never left Egypt. It has clung to her walls for 3,000 years. The priest turns, places his hand over his heart, and speaks softly. Ra sleeps. The world must keep watch. He lights a second torch and places it beside the altar. The flame flares, steady and golden. This is Egypt's secret. Devotion as maintenance, worship as continuity. You bow your head. Even as centuries crumble, faith endures like the fire on that altar, flickering, yes, but never extinguished. Beyond the temple's main hall lies a smaller chamber filled with the scratching sound of reed pens. You enter quietly. Dozens of scribes sit cross-legged on mats, writing by lamplight. They copy hymns, spells, calendars, the memory of the gods written one careful stroke at a time. The air smells of ink and wax. Light shimmers on their bronze inkwells. The walls around them are painted with images of Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom, holding a scribe's palette and stylus. His eyes seem to follow you, calm, knowing. A young scribe looks up from his tablet. He dips his pen in red ink, writes a single line, then whispers it aloud. To write is to speak to eternity. You ask what he means. He smiles faintly. When our voices fade, the words remain. Thoth hears them. The gods remember. You move closer and watch him work, the careful curve of each glyph, the steady breath before every stroke. This is prayer made visible. The rhythm of pen against papyrus becomes a heartbeat. In a corner, an older scribe copies the Book of Coming Forth by Day, what moderns will call the Book of the Dead. He murmurs as he writes, each word a charm for safe passage through the afterlife. He dips his brush again and continues, unhurried, unbroken, as though time itself is writing through him. When you leave, the sound of styluses follows you into the corridor, soft as rain falling on stone. Outside, the city sleeps beneath the moon. But not all worship happens in temples. As you wander through the streets, you glimpse small doorways lit by single flames. In one home, a woman kneels before a clay statue of Torit, the hippopotamus goddess who guards mothers and children. She lays a few flowers at its feet, then sings a lullaby to her newborn. Her husband sits nearby, sharpening a knife for morning work, his eyes soft with tired pride. In another home, a small painted image of Bes, squat, bearded, smiling fiercely, hangs beside the door. The family believes he drives away snakes and nightmares. The air smells of bread and oil. The warmth feels like prayer itself. You realize that faith here is not grand or distant. It lives in the rhythm of breath and the daily rituals that keep fear away. Temples may rise and fall, kings may come and go, But this, a mother's whisper, a lamp burning through the night, is the heart that never stops beating. Down by the riverside, near the temple walls, musicians gather. They play harps strung with gut, flutes carved from reed, and drums made from stretched hide. Their music drifts through the night, soft and repetitive, hypnotic. Each note seems to vibrate with devotion. A dancer moves among them, her bracelets chiming with each step. Her eyes are closed, her body fluid, not for an audience, but for the gods. The movements are slow, circular, deliberate. Her feet leave small crescents in the sand. Nearby, children clap along, giggling quietly. An old man beats a rhythm on a jar with his palm. Faith here is not solemn. It is alive, full of laughter and motion. The gods, they believe, love music because it reminds them of creation, the first vibration that separated earth from sky. You sit beneath a palm and listen. The song changes from praise to farewell, from farewell to lullaby. The flutes fall silent. The harp lingers on a single trembling note. The night swallows it gently, and for a breathless moment you feel Egypt breathing with you. One endless inhalation across the centuries. At dawn, before the fields awaken, farmers place small altars by the irrigation canals. They shape them from mud and reeds, simple and temporary. A few drops of beer, a handful of grain, a spoken word of thanks, that is all. Yet the devotion in these gestures equals any temple's grandeur. One farmer touches the soil, murmuring to Hapi, god of the Nile, "Flow kindly, Father. Leave us enough." His voice trembles with both reverence and fear. He knows the river's generosity, but also its wrath. Faith, to him, is negotiation, an understanding between human and flood. You kneel beside him, press your palm into the wet mud. The earth is cool, pulsing faintly beneath your hand. It feels alive, as if the god is answering already. The years pass. Dynasties fade. But faith continues to flow southward with the river. You journey down the Nile toward Nubia. The water narrows here, winding between granite cliffs that rise like black teeth from the current. Palm trees cling to the edges. Ibis birds lift lazily into the sky. Your boat glides silently, the sail catching the faintest wind. Ahead, an island gleams like a jewel, Philae, the holy seat of Isis. As you step ashore, the air cools, soft with mist. The temple stands close to the water, its columns carved with vines, stars, and the face of the goddess herself. Her smile is calm and eternal, as if she knows that time can wound but not destroy. Inside, the walls glow with the light of small oil lamps. Priestesses move barefoot, their anklets tinkling softly. They carry trays of lotus flowers and bowls of milk. Their chants rise and fall in gentle waves. Isis, mother of magic, she who wept for Osiris, she who heals the world. The sound is ancient yet tender, like the breath of someone remembering a dream. You follow the procession to the sanctuary. Here, a statue of Isis sits cloaked in linen, painted eyes gazing forward. Priests bow low, touching their foreheads to the floor. The scent of incense thickens until it feels like you are breathing light. When they lift the veil, you see not a goddess of conquest or war, but one of mercy. Her open arms seem to gather everything: grief, joy, loss, renewal. In her silence you hear all prayers answered. Centuries later, even as new empires rise, Persian, Greek, Roman, the Egyptians keep returning here. They come in secret when foreign rulers ban their gods. At night, they light small lamps along the riverbank and whisper the old names: Isis, Osiris, Horus. The guards pretend not to see. When the last pharaoh falls and the land bows to foreign kings, this island remains a heart still beating. Even under the Roman emperors, priests of Isis continue their rites. They carve hieroglyphs on the walls, writing prayers no conqueror can read. You stand at the edge of the temple, looking at the stars reflected in the river. Somewhere you sense that this is the end of an era, yet it feels peaceful. Faith, you realize, does not die. It transforms. The gods do not vanish. They change their names, their faces, their symbols. But the yearning that built these temples, the desire to connect with what lies beyond sight, that is eternal. You close your eyes. The wind carries the scent of myrrh, the faint sound of chanting. For a moment, the island seems to glow, half in this world, half in another. Then it is gone, lost in the silver of dawn. Back in Thebes, an old scribe sits in the shade of a column. He has spent his life recording prayers, decrees, rituals. Now his hands tremble, his pen moves slowly. He writes a final line on his scroll. Everything passes, except the song of the Nile. He rolls the papyrus, ties it with string, and seals it with wax. Then he sets it among hundreds of others in a wooden chest. He smiles faintly, knowing that long after he is dust, his words will still whisper through these halls. Perhaps someone, perhaps you, will read them again. The scribe leans back, watching the sunlight crawl across the stone floor. He whispers to the god Thoth, thanking him for memory, for writing, for thought itself. Then he closes his eyes and listens to the hum of the city, the market bells, the distant hymns, the heartbeat of life continuing. As dusk returns, you climb the steps of Karnak one last time. The sun sinks beyond the desert hills. The sacred lake reflects both the fading sky and the first stars appearing. You realize that this water has mirrored every sunrise and sunset since the first stone was laid. A breeze stirs. The papyrus reeds sway, whispering softly. Somewhere a priest chants the evening hymn. May Mat endure. May order prevail. May the world rest in balance. You breathe deeply. The air tastes of dust and honey, of endings and beginnings. You understand now that Egypt's power was never only in its monuments, but in its equilibrium, its ability to hold life and death, chaos and order, sun and shadow, all at once. As the torches burn low and the last hymns fade into the dark, you turn away from the temple walls. The moon rises over the Nile, pale and watchful, casting silver across the water. The gods retreat into silence, and the city drifts toward sleep. The air hums with something eternal, not the echo of power, but of peace. And as the night deepens, the world shifts once more. Let's drift onward, into another corner of history, into the tombs, the pyramids, and the quiet promise of the afterlife. This is the Valley of the Kings, a place where the sun itself seems to pause before setting. A desert bowl carved from limestone and silence, where mountains stand like giant tombs, and the air shimmers with heat and memory. Here the pharaohs of the ancient kingdom chose to sleep forever. You stand beneath a sky the color of faded papyrus, the Nile a thin blue ribbon far away. In this landscape, time no longer moves forward. It spirals like the coils of a scarab. You wake to the sound of hammer on stone. The morning sun has barely risen, yet the workers of Deir el-Medina are already at their task. Their village lies on the edge of this valley. a tight cluster of mud brick houses belonging to the artists, stone cutters, and painters who build the eternal homes of kings. You walk among them. The ground crunches beneath your sandals. Each step releases the smell of dust and hot lime. Men with bronze chisels and mallets descend into a narrow tunnel cut deep into the mountain. Inside, the air is cool and still. Their voices echo off the walls like waves in a stone sea. A foreman calls out measurements. 2 cubits more. Straight line. No cracks. His voice is steady, but beneath it you hear reverence. Each strike of his hammer is a prayer in rhythm. Outside, a woman brings bread and beer to the workers. Her hair is plaited tight. Her eyes squint against the sun. Children run behind her, their laughter brief and bright against the endless silence of the valley. By noon, the rock face glows white and the air burns with heat. You taste salt on your skin. Every shadow seems to tremble. Yet they work on, chiseling rooms for a king who will never see them. Inside the tomb, painters prepare the walls. They mix pigments from crushed ochre, malachite, and lapis lazuli ground with water from the Nile. The air smells of plaster and smoke. By lamplight, their brushes move like whispers across the stone, tracing the path of Re's solar boat, the embrace of Isis, the judgment hall of Osiris. Each scene is a manual for the soul. Every color has meaning. Red for life and danger, green for rebirth, gold for the flesh of the gods. They paint not for beauty alone, but for navigation, so the pharaoh may find his way through the darkness after death. You watch a young artist dip his brush and pause before a panel of hieroglyphs. He whispers, "To speak the name of the dead is to make them live again." He paints slowly, deliberately. You feel the weight of that truth, how even a stroke of color can defy oblivion. Further inside, the corridors descend deeper into the earth. You touch the walls, cool, smooth, alive with carved figures. There's no sound but the drip of water and your own heartbeat. You imagine this darkness filled with chanting as priests seal the tomb, their voices echoing into forever. Now you find yourself in a workshop near the river, where the air is thick with resin and salt. Here the embalmers prepare a body, a noble man, perhaps a scribe of the court. He lies on a table of cedar wood brought from Lebanon, his skin pale and still. One embalmer raises a bronze hook and carefully draws the brain through the nostril. Another opens the side of the body with a sharp flint blade. They work quietly, their movements precise. Not surgery, but ritual. The organs are washed and placed in canopic jars, each guarded by a different deity. Imseti for the liver, Hapi for the lungs, Dumutef for the stomach, Kebesanuf for the intestines. You see their carved faces, human, baboon, jackal, hawk, watching over their charge. Then the body is filled with natron salts and left for 70 days. The smell is sharp, clean like desert air. When the days are done, the skin is dry and light as papyrus. The embalmers anoint it with oil of cedar, myrrh, and lotus. They wrap the body in hundreds of yards of linen, each layer dusted with resin. Between the wrappings they tuck amulets, the eye of Horus, the scarab of rebirth, the jed pillar for stability. A priest leans close and speaks into the silence. You will rise again as Ra rises. Your soul shall walk in light. When he finishes, he touches a small gold charm to the lips of the mummy, the opening of the mouth ceremony. It grants speech in the next world, so the dead may recite their own defense before Osiris. The room falls quiet. Only the flicker of oil lamps remains and the soft crackle of linen settling into place. When the pharaoh dies, the entire kingdom holds its breath. Drums beat slowly. Priests carry incense and statues. Women wail beside the procession, their hair unbound, their voices rising like wind through the palms. You walk with them as they cross the river to the western bank, the land of sunset, the realm of the dead. The boat is painted with eyes so it may see its way through the darkness. Inside, the coffin rests beneath a canopy of gold and lapis. The air is thick with frankincense and grief. When they reach the tomb, priests circle the entrance 3 times, chanting the names of the gods. Then they descend into the darkness, torches casting long shadows on the painted walls. Inside, they lay the coffin in its stone sarcophagus, place jars of food and wine, jewelry, weapons, scrolls of spells. A servant sets a small boat model beside it, so the pharaoh may sail the sky with PHARAOH. At last, a high priest raises his staff and speaks, "Go forth in peace. May your heart be light. May your name endure in the field of reeds." The door is sealed. Outside, the sun sets behind the ridge, and the valley swallows the sound of living feet. The door has closed. Stone against stone. Silence returns. Within the darkness, something stirs, the breath that is no longer breath, the soul waking to its second life. You feel yourself hovering above your own body, weightless, cool as water. The linen around you glows faintly, each thread a memory. Outside, you sense the priests withdrawing, their footsteps fading upward through the corridor. Then only the torch smoke remains, a thin spiral of shadow rising through the still air. The K, the life force, separates from the shell of flesh and stands upright. It looks like you, but lighter, transparent, the color of dawn mist. A whisper fills the chamber. You have died, but you are not gone. 2 guardian spirits, jackal-headed Anubis and falcon-eyed Horus, take their place beside you. Their presence is neither frightening nor kind, only necessary, like gravity. Anubis gestures toward the tunnel, and together you walk. This is Duat, the Egyptian underworld, an endless landscape of caverns, rivers, and fire. The walls pulse with hieroglyphs that move like living light. Every step you take echoes with the memory of the world above. The first gate opens, a curtain of blue flame. A voice booms, "Name yourself." You speak your true name, and the fire dims, parting like a veil. Beyond, you cross a river of darkness on a bark guided by unseen hands. The water smells of iron and lily. Stars float upon it, like lanterns set adrift by the living. Each one represents a prayer said for you by those still breathing in the sun. You pass islands of shadow where serpents coil and spirits weep for lost chance. But Anubis leads you on, steady, silent. At the river's end stands a field of reeds swaying in eternal breeze, the border between death and renewal. A hall of towering pillars opens before you, the hall of 2 truths. Light falls from no torch, but from the very air, golden and even. At the far end sits Osiris, the green-skinned god of resurrection, crowned with the white plume of Upper Egypt. Beside him stand Isis and Nephthys, serene and sorrowful. Thoth waits nearby, his ibis face calm, holding a tablet of judgment. You step forward. Anubis reaches into your chest and draws forth your heart, not bloody, but luminous, like a ruby alive with pulse. He places it upon one side of a scale. On the other side rests the feather of Masat, goddess of truth and cosmic balance. The chamber grows utterly still. The heart trembles. The feather does not. Thoth marks the measure. If the heart is heavier burdened by lies, cruelty, or greed, it will be devoured by Ammit, the monster with crocodile jaws. If it balances, you will pass on to peace. You wait. Every moment of your life whispers through the air acts of mercy, moments of anger, words spoken and unsaid. The scales tip, quiver, and then rest, perfectly even. Osiris inclines his head. True of voice, he says, you may cross. A sigh of wind passes through the hall, the exhale of eternity releasing you. You emerge into morning light. There is no sun, yet everything glows. Before you stretches a vast plain of water and green islands, filled with birds, lotus blossoms, and quiet laughter. This is Aru, the field of reeds, the paradise of the justified. Farmers till shining soil that never dries. Women bake bread that never burns. Children chase herons that never tire. No one grows old, no one weeps. You walk among them, and they greet you as kin. Someone places a plate of flowers around your neck. Another hands you a cup of cool water. It tastes like memory, sweet and weightless. In the distance you see familiar faces. Friends, parents, perhaps a child long gone. They smile, and you understand that here reunion is the final reward. Beyond the fields rises the horizon, the edge where Ra's solar boat will appear at dawn. Every night the souls of the blessed join him on his voyage, helping the sun defeat darkness so it can rise again. In this way, the living and the dead keep the same rhythm. But not all souls rest so easily. Some wander the caverns of flame, where spirits of chaos test them with riddles and illusions. To pass, one must remember the spells inscribed on tomb walls, the Book of Gates, the Book of Caverns. These are not punishments, but initiations. You watch as a spirit kneels before a serpent of fire. It hisses, "What is your name?" He answers, voice trembling, "I am the one whose heart is light." The serpent lowers its head and lets him pass. Each trial burns away fear until only clarity remains. At the last gate, the soul steps into pure light, neither warm nor cold, simply vast. It joins the chorus of stars above Egypt's night. Now you stand once more at the threshold of dawn. Ra's bark emerges from the eastern mountains, its hull gleaming like molten gold. The god himself stands at the prow, falcon-headed, crowned with the sun. He gestures, and the blessed climb aboard. You follow. As the bark sails across the sky, you look down upon the earth, the curve of the Nile, the tiny green thread of life winding through desert. You see Thebes, Memphis, Giza all glowing softly in morning haze. Every heartbeat of the living below feeds light into the sun. Every prayer of the dead above feeds warmth into the world. Balance maintained, Ma'at fulfilled. When the bark reaches the zenith, Ra nods to you. You will sleep now, he says, until the next dawn. And as he speaks, your body dissolves into sunlight, millions of tiny particles, returning to every grain of sand that ever touched you. Centuries pass. The kings are dust, but the valley still hums with human breath. You stand once more beneath cliffs streaked with ochre. Tombs line the ravines like doorways, waiting to be opened. At dawn the air is cool, almost kind. Workers from Deir el Medina file down the slope with torches and baskets. They are the guardians of secrecy, sworn never to reveal the tomb locations. Each path, each bend of rock is marked only in memory and stars. Their chisels ring out, bright against the stillness. Echo after echo fades into the canyons. Some men carve, others haul water, plaster, or jars of pigment. Inside the tombs, painters work by flickering light, laying down the faces of gods they will never worship in person. At midday, the sun turns cruel. Sweat runs like oil down their backs. Yet no one complains. They believe that to carve a resting place for the king earns a fragment of his eternity. When evening comes, they climb back to the village, sharing bread, onions, and beer beneath an orange sky. Children chase shadows between the houses. Laughter softens the fatigue. Then the torches fade, and the valley sleeps again. But peace never lasts forever. Where there is treasure, there is hunger. 1,000 years after Ramesses II, Egypt weakens under new rulers. Grain grows scarce, taxes rise, and even sacred oaths tremble beneath the weight of poverty. Some of the very men who once sealed tombs begin to reopen them. You walk through a tunnel at night. 2 figures move ahead, faces hidden, lamps covered. They whisper, only a little. One ring. The gods will forgive. They pry open a limestone door, the dust of centuries sighing into their lungs. Inside, gold gleams on sarcophagi, frozen smiles painted on coffins. One thief hesitates. Another reaches in with trembling hands. The silence that follows feels heavier than stone. A faint hiss, perhaps air, perhaps a curse. When they leave, they carry more than jewels. They carry guilt, the kind that clings across generations. Later, scribes of the 20th dynasty record the tomb robbery trials. Names are listed, punishments delivered, oaths renewed. Some thieves are executed, others whipped and branded. Yet the truth remains. Eternity can be broken, and greed is the only god that never sleeps. Back in the village, a scribe named Amenecht writes by lamplight. His papyrus scroll lists every tool, every worker, every ration. He records disputes, dreams, and omens. His pen is the spine of history. He pauses to write a note. We work for the lords of forever. May our hands be remembered when theirs are gone. Outside, the desert wind sighs through the door. He listens to it, half fearing, half believing it carries the voices of those entombed nearby. Years later, when his own bones rest beneath the sand, archaeologists will find his records intact. Through him, the workers of pharaohs live again, their laughter and quarrels preserved like pressed flowers. As the centuries roll on, even priests become protectors of tombs not out of devotion, but necessity. They remove mummies from plundered chambers, hide them together in secret caches, mass burials of royalty wrapped and labeled. You descend into one such pit near Deir el-Bahari. Torchlight reveals rows of coffins stacked like books on a shelf. On each faint hieroglyphs, Seti I, Ahmose, Thutmose, Ramesses II, kings who once ruled the known world, now resting shoulder to shoulder in humble silence. A priest murmurs a prayer before sealing the door. The dust settles, and for another 1,000 years they sleep unseen. Then modern time, the year 1922. A man in a wide-brimmed hat kneels at the bottom of a narrow stairway cut into rock. His name is Howard Carter. His lantern catches something glinting beneath dust. He peers through a small hole and sees gold everywhere, couches, chariots, shrines. He calls up to his patron, Lord Carnarvon. "Can you see anything?" Carter whispers, "Yes, wonderful things." You lean beside him, looking through that same gap into Tutankhamun's tomb. The air inside has not moved for over 3,000 years. When it does, it smells faintly of lotus, resin, and eternity. That discovery reawakens the world's obsession with Egypt. Crowds gather in museums. Scholars decipher new names. The dead speak again through fragments of linen and ink. But deep in the valley, where no tourists reach, the sand still hides countless others. The silence there is thicker than gold. From the pyramids to the painted tombs, every brick of Egypt's greatness was laid upon one idea, that death is not an end but a passage. You can feel how this idea traveled. Greek philosophers studied here and carried its essence home. Later, Roman architects shaped mausoleums from the memory of pyramids. Even modern religions inherited echoes of the judgment hall, the scales, the promise of resurrection. Every civilization that touched Egypt learned something about the dignity of mortality. To prepare for death, they discovered, is to understand life. As the desert wind curls through the Valley of the Kings, it sounds almost like breath, ancient, rhythmic, unending. You stand between tombs glowing pale in moonlight. The heat of the day has gone, leaving only the hush of sand shifting against stone. Somewhere beneath your feet, kings sleep and hearts are weighed again in dreams. And as the night deepens, the torches dim, and the echoes fade, the world shifts once more. Let's drift onward into another corner of history, toward the quiet dawn of modern Egypt and the enduring legacy that eternity left behind. The valley is silent again, but not forgotten. It is 2025 CE wind sweeps through the same gullies that once carried the songs of workers. You walk among the ruins with a flashlight instead of a torch. Dust curls around your boots in thin golden spirals. Archaeologists kneel in shallow trenches, brushing sand from fragments of faience beads. One holds up a small Ashapti figurine, its painted eyes still sharp after 3 millennia. He smiles, whispering, "Look at that." They still watch over us. Drones hum overhead. Sensors map chambers invisible to the eye. Technology now does what chisels once did, cutting paths into mystery. Yet even surrounded by data, you sense something sacred lingering here. A heartbeat beneath the rock, steady, patient, eternal. Farther down the slope stands a modern concrete dome, the Carter House Museum. Inside, glass cases glow like small suns. Gold masks, reed sandals, carved scarabs, objects that once lay in perfect darkness, now shine under electric light. Visitors move quietly, as if entering a chapel. Children press their faces to the glass. Elders stand still, hands clasped. Somewhere a guide explains how ancient artisans mixed resin with crushed lapis to imitate the color of heaven. You listen, smiling softly. The voices different, but the wonder the same. Outside, a tour bus starts its engine, a hawker calls about postcards, and the desert exhales heat in wide waves. The world keeps moving, but Egypt never truly wakes from her sacred dream. You sit in the evening shade beside a stone carved with hieroglyphs half erased by centuries of sand. You trace one with your finger, an owl, a ripple of water, a folded cloth. Each sign hums with meaning. Because of one man Jean Francois Champollion, these symbols speak again. In 1822, when he deciphered the Rosetta Stone, Egypt's silence broke. The dead found translators. Every prayer on every tomb wall became legible once more. You whisper a line in their reborn tongue, Ankh Jet Nea, life, stability, eternity. The sound is strange and soothing, like wind moving through reed pipes. For a moment it feels as though the entire valley answers back. Night settles. You sit upon a warm rock overlooking the Nile, its curve faintly silver under moonlight. Frogs call on the banks. A heron drifts low, wings whispering. You think about how the Egyptians saw death, not as an ending, but as a duty, a task of maintaining balance so the sun could rise again. How every grave good, every hymn, every pyramid was an act of optimism carved in stone. Perhaps that's why these monuments survive. They were built by people who refused to believe in finality. You breathe deeply. The same air that once filled Ramesses' lungs passes through yours. The same stars watched over Hatshepsut now shimmer above you. In this quiet, the boundary between ancient and modern blurs until only existence remains fragile, luminous, ongoing. The wind shifts, carrying the scent of distant water and sand-warmed resin. The night deepens into velvet darkness. Far below, Luxor glitters tiny electric constellations echoing the heavens above. You feel history folding gently around you like linen. And as the lamps burn low and the desert grows still, the world shifts once more. Let's drift onward to the final thoughts toward reflection, relevance, and rest. This is Thebes in decline, a city once radiant with banners and hymns, now hushed beneath drifting sand. Temples still stand, but their paint fades, their columns crumble. The Nile keeps its rhythm, yet fewer barges glide upon it. You can almost hear the empire sigh, a long exhale after 3,000 years of breath. You wake to the muted clang of bronze. The priests of Amun move through half-deserted courtyards, sweeping dust from fallen reliefs. The boy king Ramesses XI reigns, though power now lies in priests' hands. Treasuries once filled with Nubian gold stand half empty. The granaries yield little. You walk through the Ramesseum. Birds nest between hieroglyphs carved for eternity. Workers pull weeds from sacred pools once mirrored by stars. Thebes is no longer the beating heart of the world, only its echo. In the north, new rulers rise. Tanis, Bubastis, Sais, cities that trade loyalty for survival. Dynasties multiply like tributaries, the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, until numbers lose meaning. Each claims descent from gods. Each rules a little less of Egypt than the one before. You feel the wind shift, dry, relentless, carrying accents never heard in the age of pyramids. Libyan chieftains cross from the western deserts, becoming kings. Kushite rulers from Nubia march north, restoring temples, reviving forgotten rites. For a moment, Egypt breathes again under their dark stone crowns. Then Assyria arrives, armies of iron, their banners blood red against the sand. Cities burn. Thebes is sacked in 663 BCE. You stand among toppled statues. The smell of smoke and limestone fills the air. Priests hide scrolls beneath floor tiles. Mothers press children against the cold of temple walls. The empire that built eternity now fights simply to endure the day. A century later, Persia rules the two lands. Darius I walks through Memphis, his beard perfumed, his eyes calculating. He honors Egyptian gods but taxes their worship. Temples become state offices. Offerings become ledgers. Yet even conquerors bow before the logic of the Nile. They build canals, repair dikes, record floods, as if by tending the river they might inherit its patience. You watch Persian soldiers guard the processions of Osiris. Their bronze helmets catch the same sunlight that once crowned pharaohs. Empires change, the light does not. For a flicker of time, Egypt frees itself again. Nectanebo II, the last native pharaoh, rebuilds temples at Philae and Mendes. He sends offerings to every shrine, trying to remind the gods that Egypt still remembers their names. But the world beyond the desert grows hungrier. From the north comes a rumor. A young Macedonian king, swift as storm, worshipped as son of Zeus, Alexander. You stand on the docks of Pelusium in 332 BCE. The sea smells of salt and smoke. Ships of pale wood glide in with white sails painted with suns. From one steps a man barely 23, wearing a lion skin over his armor. He kneels, lifts a handful of Nile water to his lips, and whispers a prayer, not in Egyptian, but in Greek. The people watch, unsure. Is he conqueror or deliverer? He restores shrines, frees captives, leaves offerings to Apis, the sacred bull. When priests hail him, beloved of Amun, he smiles as if the title were destiny. At Siwa Oasis, deep in the desert, he visits the oracle. The wind moans through acacia trees. Sand glitters like crushed glass. When he emerges, eyes distant, he says only, "My father is no mortal man." From then on, even Alexander speaks of Egypt with reverence. He orders a new city built near the sea, a place where Greek learning and Egyptian memory will meet. He calls it Alexandria. You walk along the quays of the newborn city. Marble columns rise beside mud brick houses. Scholars carry papyrus rolls under the open sun. The smell of ink and seawater mingles in the air. At the heart of it all stands the great library, walls of polished limestone, rooms lined with cedar shelves. Inside, scribes copy every text they can find: Homer, geometry, medicine, the wisdom of the Nile. When ships dock, officials seize their manuscripts, copy them, and return the duplicates. Knowledge itself becomes tribute. You pause in the reading hall, where oil lamps flicker like small stars. A scholar murmurs a fragment from an older hymn. May the ink endure as the pyramids endure. For a time, it seems it, the years roll forward like the Nile at flood. Avais, Greek words mingle with Egyptian prayers. Temples to Isis stand beside marble theaters. Incense mixes with olive oil and wine. You walk through Alexandria, now the glittering mouth of empire. The ruling house of Ptolemy claims descent from Alexander. They wear Greek cloaks, but crown themselves pharaohs. They carve their names in hieroglyphs beside those of the gods. At their banquets, philosophers debate geometry, while priests chant hymns to Re. It is an age of mirrors, one culture gazing into another, each seeing divinity in the reflection. The Queen Arsinoe rides in procession through the streets, gold dust in her hair. Children scatter petals. Musicians play lyres and sistrums together. A citizen whispers, "We have made Athens from the Nile," and yet, beneath the celebration, something fragile stirs, the old land remembering itself. Down in Philae and Dendandra, devotion persists in the native tongue. Priests inscribe prayers on the temple walls in hieroglyphs that few can still read. They keep calendars, record floods, tend sacred cats and crocodiles. When Greek governors visit, the priests smile politely, then close the doors and continue their ancient rites by lamplight. You walk those halls at dusk. Lotus-scented smoke drifts upward. Walls shimmer with scenes of Isis nursing Horus. A high priest places his hand on the cool stone and murmurs, "As long as I speak these names, Egypt breathes." He does not know he is one of the last. Now the centuries narrow to a single figure. The year is 51 BCE. You stand in the palace at Alexandria, sea wind fluttering blue curtains. A young woman steps into the light, slender, amber-skinned, her eyes lined with kohl the color of night. Cleopatra 7. She speaks 9 languages. She rules with her mind more than her crown. She walks among scholars, sailors, and priests alike, listening, calculating. When she addresses the crowd in Egyptian, the first ruler in generations to do so, the city stills in astonishment. She restores temples, reopens schools, invites philosophers to her court. Yet beyond the horizon, Rome grows restless. Its legions march like tides that cannot be turned. You follow her onto a barge gliding down the Nile at night. Torches shimmer on black water. Musicians play softly. At the prow stands Julius Caesar, conqueror of Gaul, wearier than he admits. He listens as she speaks of pyramids older than his republic, of gods who outlived dynasties. He smiles, half in love, half in wonder. Later, in Alexandria's marble halls, they walk among columns carved with hieroglyphs. She explains each symbol, her voice low, deliberate. He traces the shapes with his hand, murmuring, "Rome builds with stone, you build with forever." Their union produces a child, Caesarion, the boy called Little Caesar. But even prophecy cannot protect blood from politics. Years pass. Caesar is gone, the republic cracks, and Rome's appetite returns. Mark Antony arrives, soldier, poet, dreamer, and finds Cleopatra waiting beneath awnings scented with myrrh. They feast, laugh, and plot to restore the world between them. For a while the desert blooms again. Fleets sail, temples reopen. Egypt glows as if dawn had changed its mind. But empires tolerate no rivals. In 31 BCE, at Actium, Rome's ships filled the sea like a storm. Flames consume Cleopatra's fleet. Antony's men scatter. You stand on the palace balcony. Smoke rises from the harbor. The queen watches in silence. The wind lifts her veil. The horizon darkens. She whispers, "Better to join the gods than kneel to mortals." Soon after, in her chamber perfumed with jasmine, she holds a small basket. Inside, a serpent stirs. History pauses and exhales. The asp strikes. Her breathing slows, then stills. Outside, waves break against the quay. Rome marches through the gates. The line of pharaohs ends. The conqueror Octavian, soon to be Augustus, orders her buried beside Antony. He keeps the child Caesarion for a moment, then removes him from history. Temples close. Hieroglyphs fade from use. Latin and Greek replace the sacred tongue. Egypt becomes a province, its gods refugees in their own land. Yet in the hush that follows conquest, something invisible survives. Farmers still place small idols of Isis beside their wells. Fishermen still whisper to Sobek before casting nets. The Nile still floods and recedes, indifferent, eternal. The year is 30 BCE. You stand before the temple of Philae, now under the eagle of Rome. Marble statues of emperors appear beside the old gods. Latin inscriptions share space with hieroglyphs. The priests bow, but their eyes remain fixed on the horizon. They know foreign empires come and go. The Nile stays. Roman governors build roads across the delta, repair canals, measure floods. They collect taxes and grain that feeds the distant capital. To Rome, Egypt is breadbasket and museum, a place of memory already ancient. At Thebes, the colossi of Memnon crack each dawn with a low, melodic hum. Travelers believe the statues sing to greet the sun. You listen, hearing not music but wind through fissured stone, a ghostly reminder that even silence can have a voice. Centuries drift, temples empty, rituals fade into echo. By AD 391, imperial edict bans the old worship. Priests extinguish their lamps and hide their idols under floor stones. The temple of Isis at Philae becomes a refuge. Here, far from the governor's eyes, chants still rise in Egyptian at dusk, but time, patient as the river, wears everything down. The last hieroglyph ever carved will read simply, "The beloved of Isis," dated 394 CE. After that, the language sleeps. The gods close their eyes. The desert begins its long vigil. New voices fill the silence. Christian monks settle among the cliffs, their cells built from temple stones. They paint crosses over carvings of Horus and Ra, but the old sense of holiness remains. By lamplight they copy scriptures, hear wind whistling through cracks once meant for incense. You enter one of their hermit caves. A monk sits beside a small fire, the air smelling of smoke and honey. He looks up and says softly, "Even in the desert, God listens." His words seem to echo those of Akhenaten, centuries before, the same hunger for light and the same endless sky. By the 7th century, the sands have claimed the temples. Columns lie half buried. Only the peaks of pylons show like islands at low tide. The desert reclaims its inheritance grain by grain. Caravans pass without noticing the sleeping giants beneath their feet. Nomads pitch tents beside fallen obelisks. Wind erases footprints faster than memory can form them. For more than 1,000 years, Egypt rests. Then to 1798 CE, drums on the Mediterranean. Napoleon Bonaparte lands with armies and scientists. Among his soldiers march artists, engineers, linguists, the savants d'Egypte. You walk among them as they sketch temples half buried in sand. They measure columns with ropes, trace hieroglyphs by candlelight. One whispers in awe, "These stones, they are older than our prayers." From their work will come the Description de l'Egypte, a 40-volume resurrection of a civilization. Europe reads it, astonished. Egypt rises again in imagination. A year later, near Rosetta, a soldier unearths a slab of basalt covered in 3 scripts, Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphic. The Rosetta Stone. You lean close. The carvings shimmer with possibility. Scholars struggle for decades. Then, in 1822, a Frenchman named Jean-Francois Champollion cries out, "I found the key." He understands that each sign represents sound, not idea. Suddenly, the dead language breathes again. You imagine the spirits of scribes awakening, astonished to hear their words spoken aloud after 15 centuries of silence. In that moment, memory becomes language, and language becomes life. Soon travelers from every nation arrive. Belzoni hauls colossal statues to the Nile. Mariette clears Saqqara. Petrie counts potsherds with the precision of a clockmaker. The Valley of the Kings hums once more with picks and shovels. By lantern light, explorers crawl through tunnels unseen since the reign of Ramesses. In 1922, Howard Carter kneels before a sealed door and glimpses a shimmer of gold. Tutankhamun, the boy king, returns to the world. News spreads like sunrise, museums fill, artists paint, poets write. Egypt becomes a mirror in which the modern world sees both its past and its longing for permanence. It is the 21st century now. The Valley of the Kings still lies under a sky of fire and sand. Only the tools have changed. Archaeologists kneel where ancient masons once did, but their chisels are laser beams and cameras. They whisper into radios instead of prayers. At dawn, the desert glows rose gold. Drones hum over cliffs that once shook with hammer blows. In tents, conservators mend linen older than most nations. You watch a gloved hand brush dust from a painted eye, and the pigment flashes bright as if laid yesterday. Each breath of air stirred inside a tomb is filtered, measured, recorded, a modern ritual of reverence. The same patience endures, the same awe, the same wish to preserve something of ourselves in stone. At Cairo's National Museum of Civilization, glass cases hold pharaohs, once hidden for safety. Ramesses II, Seti I, Seqenen-Redao, they rest in climate-controlled stillness, wrapped not in linen but light. Visitors pass in a whispering line, hands clasped, faces reflected in the transparent coffins. A child looks up and says, "They look asleep." A curator answers softly, "Perhaps they are." You stand beside them, feeling how small centuries become inside this room. The air smells faintly of resin and electricity. Every sarcophagus hums with both science and sanctity. Outside Egypt, echoes multiply. Obelisks rise in Paris, London, New York, silent ambassadors of the Nile. Museums hold fragments of papyrus, beads, statues. Some are returned, others wait. Debate continues ownership, heritage, memory, but beneath it all lies the same truth. Human beings cannot resist eternity. Films, novels, symphonies, each reinvents the same dream. To wake the ancient, to hear again the rustle of linen, the whisper of sand, to stand where time began. You smile. Even in pixels and screen light, Egypt still glows. Dusk spreads over Luxor. The Nile runs black and silver under the first stars. Feluccas drift, their sails ghost white against the horizon. On the western hills, the tomb mouths shine faintly, like constellations turned inward. You sit by the water, the air warm, smelling of dust and jasmine. You think of every age that passed, the divine kings, the foreign empires, the scholars, and the quiet farmers who outlasted them all. The world changes its language, its gods, its machines, but not its longing to endure, to be remembered, to leave something gentle behind. You run your fingers through Nile water. It feels cool, eternal. Somewhere upstream it still laps the stones of Karnak. Downstream it still kisses the sea. The same river that bathed the newborn pharaohs now reflects the lights of smartphones along its banks. And yet it is still the Nile. As the night settles over Thebes, the wind softens, carrying a scent of papyrus and distant myrrh. Temple columns fade into shadow. The river murmurs its lullaby. Time folds upon itself ancient and modern breathing together. And as the stars bloom above the desert, the world shifts once more. Let's drift onward, gently, into reflection, into sleep, where the echoes of dynasties become dreams. You sit beneath the stars, somewhere between memory and now. The desert is quiet, the kind of quiet that holds its own heartbeat. You think of what you have seen, of kings and masons, of mothers and scribes, of light carved into stone. All along, Egypt has been teaching one thing, that human life, no matter how brief, can echo forever if it honors balance, truth, and care. Mayat, the ancient word for order, is not just a law of gods. It is a rhythm of kindness, of justice, of choosing harmony over haste. And you realize how that same rhythm lives within you. You build your own monuments each day, not of limestone, but of words, gestures, and memory. The pyramids stand because people worked together, believed together, dreamed together. So do we. The pharaohs sought eternity in tombs. But eternity, perhaps, is in attention, in the small act of remembering the world with tenderness. You exhale slowly. The night exhales with you. Tonight we wandered from the golden dawn of Ramesses II, through the bustling markets of Thebes and the whispers of scribes in temple halls. We watched priests wake gods with incense. We walked the long corridor of the underworld, where hearts were weighed against feathers and truth. We stood beside artists and embalmers, felt the hush of the tombs, and then followed explorers who brushed sand from forgotten faces. We sailed with Cleopatra's barge into twilight, heard the first scholars cry out at the discovery of a stone that spoke, and at last we sat among the ruins reborn as museums, where children press their palms against glass and stare into eyes painted 3 millennia ago, eyes that still look back. The air cools. The desert wind softens to a sigh. Somewhere a distant flute plays, one long note that seems to hover between centuries. You feel your body grow heavy, your mind slow and wide. Imagine the Nile at night. Silver water, moonlight trembling across it, reeds swaying in sleep. Along its banks, villages dim their lamps, and in the distance, jackals call like fading bells. Every sound is older than language, and every breath you take is part of that same ancient cycle, in, out. Like the river, like the stars, so let the images drift. Let temples sink gently into sand. Let the barge of Re carry you eastward toward rest. You have walked through ages. Now you can rest among them. If this quiet journey through history brought you peace, if it helped you breathe a little slower, remember, there are more worlds waiting. Kindly subscribe, and you can always return each night to wander the past until dreams arrive. Until next time, dear traveler of the night, may your sleep be deep, your dreams golden, and your heart light as a feather. Good night.